Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM React, episode number 600 and okay, I can't remember now. Oh, anyway, 617. Okay, I misspoke. But anyway, and today we're reacting to the 64th episode of Purple Roads Podcast, episode number 64. Josh Monroe and Nala the dog. And we're going to react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Okay.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so thankful you're here, and we're going a little bit different this week in a way that I think is going to be very inspiring. I'm inspired by this, and I know you will be too.
Okay.
Josh Monroe, Mr. Monroe, fifth grade teacher, who has taken his message out into social media, into TikTok, and he's really inspired people. And so I am so excited to have him here. How are you?
Okay.
How are you, Mr. Monroe? I was going to say Josh, but how are you, Mr. Monroe?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I know that we talked a little bit before, but I'm really excited because as a kid I watched Barney. My sisters grew up with it, so this is a huge privilege for me.
Well, it's a privilege for me as well. I love what you're doing. I love that you're inspiring people.
Wow.
And I'm so excited to have you on the show. And you're in Omaha, which I have been to Omaha. I performed in Omaha.
Wow.
And have some really great memories.
Wow.
Of Omaha. In fact, I'll tell you, we had snow when we were there.
Wow.
And several people from the Barney tour had never seen snow before. Omaha was the first time they'd ever seen snow. So it's a memory, and the crowds came out. It was amazing. So.
Oh yeah, we just had a lot of snow probably a week and a half ago, and right now it's like 55. It's crazy how quick weather here changes. Week and a half ago we had a cold day, so it was negative 40 outside. Kids didn't come to school, and now, like I said, it's 55 degrees.
Well, here in Texas, we're going through the same thing. You know, we had
right.
Not that cold, but we were cold, and now everyone's back going. So let's start out before we get into social media and TikTok and all of that.
Okay.
I love the fact that you were a teacher at the school where you actually went to school. So let's talk about you getting into teaching and actually the importance of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I teach at the school that I went to as a child.
Okay.
Also unique about this is one of my teammates is my 4th grade teacher, and he's the reason.
Wow. Okay. Continue on. Oh, hang on. Continue on. Okay.
And into teaching. So that's been a really special thing for me. I don't remember what he taught me in 4th grade, but what I do remember is that he loved me as a person.
Wow.
And that's what turned me towards teaching was just making sure that students understand that they're loved and cared for. And his name is Tom Henry. Tom Henry did a great job of that, and now I get to work with him. So now I've got that privilege of working with Mr. Henry, and it was kind of odd at first because he was my teacher, and so I'd ask him a question, like go to him for advice, and I'd say, "Hey, Mr. Henry," he'd be like, "It's just Tom." So there was some adjusting there, but yeah, it's really unique now that I get to work at the building that I went to as a school. So we're a Title I building, so a lot of our students come from poverty, and I grew up in that situation. So when they come with these struggles, I have this unique perspective of being able to relate to them. So when they tell me different things that are going on at home, I'm like, hey, I understand what you're going through. Let's talk through this. Let's think of different situations. And some great things have come out of that. I've got a food drawer in class because I know that kids sometimes are going home hungry or they're coming to school hungry. So they know that they can go there to grab some food. So it's a really unique and a really cool thing for me to be able to be here.
Isn't it interesting, as obviously your mentor did. You're finding that too. It's finding that connection, whatever that connection may be, that sticks with them.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with what you do.
Yeah, and making sure that students can see themselves in us as teachers. Like this is how I dress going to school. I wear khakis every day. I wear Converse, usually a hoodie or a pullover that has some kind of message that kids can relate to or connect with. And I do that just so kids, like I said, see themselves in me. I don't want them to see me as this suit and tie kind of guy. I want to be able to relate to them. I want them to know that I'm on that same level that they are.
Okay.
And isn't it interesting that probably helps a lot, having that message, so they're not only hearing it, but then they're seeing it, and they're seeing that you're promoting these positive messages out into the world.
Yeah, I like this one, to stay kind. One of my kids was like, I've got like 4 or 5 of these. They're like, why do you always wear that? And I said, well, have you heard of the campaign Be Kind? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I don't think that that's enough. It's easy to be kind in a moment. What's hard is to stay kind. And so
exactly.
It leads to really great lessons, really social and emotional lessons about a lot of different things. And so I love it.
Well, isn't that interesting? That your shirt provokes conversation that gets, however you can get that message out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of places to go here with this. Let's start with, because it's a big one here for you. I want to talk about TikTok, but I also want to get into, obviously, what it's been like being a teacher during COVID, because I know that's been challenges. But you started a TikTok channel trying to reach your kids, and it's kind of fascinating where it started and where it is now.
Yeah, where I'm at right now, I never imagined it to be here. I'm at 710,000 followers, and
wow,
it's unbelievable to me that I'm able to reach that many people. If we go back almost a year now to when COVID started, I started my TikTok because I was really struggling to get kids to Zooms. But when they were in person, that's all they talked about. Hey, did you see this new TikTok video? Or they'd listen to a song and be like, what is that song? Well, it's from TikTok. And so I turned to TikTok and I just started creating videos. I had a private account and I said, hey, if you stay for the whole Zoom meeting, I'll show you my new TikTok after. And my attendance went up. And so I kept doing it throughout all of fourth quarter. And then school ended and I had some kids email me and say, hey, are you still making TikToks? Can I see it? So I just made a public account.
Wow.
And this year came around and I saw a video that I just didn't quite agree with. And so I redid this video the way I would handle it in my class, and it blew up. It got up to about 10 million views. My follower count exploded. People started saying, how would you do this in class? How would you do that? And so I just started showing people. And now that's really about all I do, is I just show people what I do in my class, which is unbelievable to me. But it's kind of like for teachers, it's kind of like a big faculty meeting. I'm able to have conversations. I've developed friendships with people on TikTok, and we have teacher conversations about school, about education. For students, it's a chance for them to see ways schools can handle things. It's also a chance for them to give me feedback.
Wow.
I've had people reach out and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that because of blank. And some of them I listen to, and some I try to explain, well, here's why I did this. And it's been really cool how it's transformed, because it just started out as a way to get kids to school.
Wow.
Well, isn't that fascinating? Because you started something. I think that's such a big and important thing, is to try something. Whether it works or not, you try something, and I know your students would have appreciated that you just put yourself out on TikTok. And what you've ended up doing is creating this huge conversation that, one, what is great for the students, but two, talking about I think, teachers are going through all these different struggles with COVID, and students, and what works and doesn't work, and throwing ideas out there. I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, and another kind of fun thing that's happened is it's helped with my kids in class. It's helped create a stronger connection, because I ask them to do a lot of things, and I ask them to take risks. But if they don't see me take risks, then why would they ever do it? So I can relate and say, hey, I tried this TikTok thing. I made this new video. The feedback I got was negative, but at least I tried it. At least I'm putting it out there. So it's a way to encourage kids to be a risk taker. Take some risks in your
Wow.
education, some smart risks, but
Mm-hmm.
take some risks while you're here at school. Don't be afraid to fail.
Well, sure, and I think it's bigger than that in a lot of ways. Which I love that we're kind of getting into this. Is the feedback is
Yes.
sometimes negative feedback is still good feedback.
Exactly.
Right? As long as you're not attacking someone or that nature. If you don't agree with something, well, that's okay. You might have an opinion, and it might not be the right opinion, but I'll listen to it. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
For kids to understand that just because someone doesn't agree doesn't mean it's wrong. And I love that you're showing how open you are. That you listen to some, you listen to it all. Some of it you might put in place, some you don't. Don't you feel that's been a really good part of what you're doing and the message and what you're teaching?
Absolutely. I think that's something that America as a whole is kind of losing is listening and having civil discussions when we don't agree with things, and being able to accept constructive feedback. Like you said, I don't take it all in, but there's some of it that I understand. Hey, you're right. I could have done this better. I made one video about LGBTQIA plus and about a student coming out to me. And in my video, I was trying to encourage the student to let their grown up at home know. And I said, your grown up's gonna love you no matter what. Because I was coming at it from my perspective as a parent, from my perspective as a teacher. I'm gonna accept you with open arms. And I got a lot of feedback about that's not how it is for all students. And I took that into account. I understand that my words were kind of ignorant in that subject at the time, and I grew from it.
Well, but that's interesting too, because that's a message that has continued and continued and continued, and I think it really is important to be dealt. I mean, so hard in some families for them to come out and how they do it. And it is important to understand that they are loved and accepted. And yes, there are some people that don't, but we need to get to that point of that and getting that out there. I talk on this show all the time about love. When I was doing Barney back in the early days,
Wow.
I've been telling people I love them forever, and we got criticized for it. What is this message, and why are you telling people, and what do you want in this and this and this and that? And now we're sitting here 20 years later, and everyone is like, oh my gosh, I love you, I can't get enough of it.
Wow.
So I think what you're doing is so important, and yeah, these subjects aren't black and white a lot of times.
Exactly.
So yeah, you kind of have to adjust to that. But as long as that feedback is not, you're wrong, and it is, well, maybe you could have gone this direction and tried this. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and that's the good feedback that I look at, that I take to heart, is the constructive, where they're trying to help me grow. They're not attacking me as a person. They're not attacking what I said. They're just helping me grow. And I like what you said about the I love you thing. You started a trend back when Barney started, because that's something that I say in my classroom to my kids. I love you. And sometimes that throws some of the kids off at first, or other people. And they're like, why do you say that? Because I want my kids to know that they're loved. Like, I want them to know you're going to spend 8 hours a day with me. This is your house, kind of. Like, we're a family. I want you to know that when you walk in that door, I love you.
Man.
Well, I'm so fortunate to have worked with that show, because I already had that message. I grew up with it. My mom and dad were that way. My dad was, we held hands at every meal. We told each other we loved them, because if anything ever happened in life, if something horrible happened, I never had to question whether my family loved me. And it's made me stronger, and it's just so important. It's so important. I think it's beautiful that we are getting to that point where it's more comfortable for people to understand. I love you. That doesn't mean anything other than I love you. I don't want anything. It doesn't do anything other than just there's someone that believes in you.
Right. Absolutely.
I can only imagine the challenges that you have gone teaching in this new era, and then with the pandemic. What are the challenges that you've had to deal with?
I'm going to warn you that I'm an emotional guy, and so I might tear up a little bit. I did one interview one time, and they kind of asked a question like this, and I had to pause because I started to cry.
We don't have to pause, please.
You know, the the absolute hardest thing for me was last year because I teach fifth grade. Next
Wow.
year they're gone. They go to middle school.
Okay.
March 12th was the last day I got to see my class, and I had about it was a Thursday. I had about a 10-minute warning to tell my kids, hey, there's a chance we won't have school tomorrow. You need to take your iPads home. Let's make sure you got this, this, and this. And then they were gone. And I haven't seen some of them since. And that's really hard for me to swallow.
Yeah.
You know, there were some kids that really struggled during that time mentally, and so
Yeah.
one student, I went over to his house and we played socially distanced catch, and that was a great way for me to connect and for that student to be able to remember I'm still in your corner and I still care about you. But yeah, some of them I haven't seen since, and I might not see ever again, and I never had that true closure. And that's true for a lot of teachers, but especially like 5th grade, 8th grade, 12th grade, when those kids get ready to transition somewhere else. You know, like a first grade teacher, their kid's going to come back to the building
So.
this year or hopefully next year, if not, so they'll have a chance to see him again. I haven't seen some of mine.
Wow.
So that's been hard.
Sure, but then it also probably show you that you probably left something behind with them. You're impacting these kids just as your mentor did. That maybe you're physically not seeing them, but I have a feeling they're never going to forget Mr. Monroe.
I hope. My goal every day is when a kid leaves, that they remember that they're loved while they're here, that I care about them, and so I work really hard to make sure that message gets to them. So I do hope that they remember that.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenges of the school you're in and the students you're in, and a little bit more about how you've been able to help them from your own experiences.
The students in my class now,
Yes.
like in my building.
Sure.
Yeah, so I teach at a Title I school, so a lot of our population comes from poverty. We have some behavior issues that arise because of that, and you know, it's a unique experience for me to be here, and the way that I think I approach teaching, I think helps with these students, with them understanding that they're loved and cared for, them understanding that, and I tell them, we all have these feelings, like when a kid's you can see them starting to ramp up, and you know that they're going to get really angry, that maybe get ready to tear apart a classroom or something. I tell them, it's okay to have these feelings. And we do a lot of talks about you've got the permission to feel. I read Mark Brackett's book, Permission to Feel, and I took a lot away from it. It's okay that you have these feelings, but let's learn how to handle them and regulate them in healthy ways. And so,
and like you said before about, okay, that's enough of this. Like you said before about this whole COVID situation, I know it's hard, but like I said, this is a big situation. We're now in May 2021, and where I'm taking this from, like I said, excuse me, it's just the thing is when Josh never seen Mr. Monroe never seen the kids ever again. Well, I have the same feeling as well with my own path of vacation breaks, you know, and shopping and everything, because due to COVID happened. Even though Julie was just like, please stay safe this weekend, thinking that, you know, that BS. But anyway, let's continue on.
just making sure that teachers pause the brakes on the rigor of curriculum, and we focus, especially at the beginning of the year, a lot of our efforts in on that social and emotional learning, giving students permission to feel, giving students, you know, the opportunity to be heard and to be seen, and letting them know that we're in their corner for what they need, has really helped in my career, because I didn't start out that way. I had a rough first couple years where I kind of thought, I'm the teacher now, so you're going to do what I say. And my career has changed since I've learned about the importance of social and emotional learning in the classroom.
And what a change that is from definitely when I grew up, and probably when you went to school. And yeah, I mean, it's a complete different change. As the, there's so many places I want to go with this. Where did you start realizing it can't just be about the curriculum? We're never going to get the message across of the teaching part if we don't deal with these other issues.
Yeah, so it actually started in my first year. I had a really rough class. But I had that really rough class. I was getting my master's at the same time. I was overwhelmed that first year. And when I got done teaching that first year, I just said, I got to change something. I have to, or I'm not going to make it. Wow. And so that's when I really dove into doing some professional reading. I used to have that belief that because it's my class, if I asked for help, I was going to be seen as weak or uneducated or unqualified for my job. Yeah. So my door was shut that first year, and I tried to handle everything. And doing some reflecting on that really changed. Yeah. Like I said, that's when I got into reading. Permission to Feel changed my life. Dave Burgess has a book, Teach Like a Pirate. Paul Solars has Learn Like a Pirate. Those books really helped me to understand the importance of allowing students their feelings in healthy ways, and allowing students to develop not just as scholars, but because that's a pretty low bar to set, to say, I just want you to learn this, I want you to graduate. And that's how I thought. And now it's very much, I want you to be a leader in society when you're done with school. I don't want you to just graduate. I want more than that. And those books really helped me.
Well, and I've got to think, and I go back to when I went to school a few years ago, that it wasn't as much pressure as there now for kids to, have figured out their whole life by 18, which is just absolutely crazy. If you look at most adults, we change positions, jobs, life, my gosh, and it continues to. There just seems like there's so much more pressure on these kids. And if I look at what I was like in high school and then what I became, I was very shy, I was all of these things. Yeah. And through school and life and experiences, I was able to get there. And it feels like with them, they're told, you got to be this, and it's not fair, and it's not reality.
No, it's not. And things, I guess I don't know when like the standardized testing era really started, but like our kindergartners are taking some of these tests, and that's totally inappropriate for their age.
Right.
Yeah. My son's gonna be in kindergarten next year, and I'm having these thoughts like, do I even allow that to happen for him? Because I don't want that pressure on him. I want him to be able to enjoy school. I don't want him to think of it as this place where I need to learn this and this and this so I can pass a test. I want him to love learning, to love it. And if we want to use that data for teaching purposes, awesome. I love that. But that pressure shouldn't be put on kids at all.
Exactly.
No. And you're right, when they have this pressure that you're going to graduate when you're 18, you better know what you're going to do. What are schools doing to prepare them to know what they want to do? Our district does a really great job of helping them when they've got this early bridge to college program for middle school. And then once you get into high school, you have the option, you can graduate with an associate's degree. So that kind of lessens the load for paying for college. But then there's also an academy. And in that academy, you can go and shadow nurses, you can shadow teachers, you can shadow all these different professions so that you start to have this understanding of, well, I want to be a teacher, I'm going to go experience it and see, is that really what I want to go to college for? Right. We gotta make sure that if we're going to put this pressure on kids, that we put it on ourselves to make sure that they're ready.
Right. Right.
There's a teacher, her name's Arlinda Davis, and something that she said to me was, we want students to be ready to inherit society when they leave.
Wow.
We got to prepare them for that, and that's a tall order for schools, for teachers, for districts to do, but we got to live up to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think what you learn is it is both parts. If I look at the things that have helped me be successful, absolutely teachers. I will mention right now Coach Buzz Andrews, who is my cross country coach, is one of the biggest influences in my life, without question. And I would tell you right now that he's a big part of why I was able to be on the TV show with Barney and all of those things, because he was someone that just kept me going and motivated me and did all of those things. And I think that's what's so important. Yes, the education is so important, but also being told you're loved and not give up, and all of these other messages help you survive in life, because we can't plan for things. If we lose someone or all of that, and that's what I love about what you're doing. You're really doing both parts of it. So these kids come out when they have tough times or dark times and go, you know what? I am loved, because Mr. Monroe told me I was loved.
Yeah, we want kids to believe, you know, that they're smarter than they are. We want them.
Sure.
Sometimes people are like, if they watch some of my videos or I do a presentation or a talk, they're like, aren't you enabling kids, or aren't you setting them up for failure when they get into the real world? I say no. One, why isn't this the real world? Like, this is their world. I'm not setting them up for failure by telling them that they're loved, or by giving them a hug or anything like that.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm setting them up for success, because they're going to know what positive relationships are like, and what they sound like, what they look like. And if a kid does mess up, I have a conversation with them. It's not that they just like get off scot-free.
Right.
You hold them accountable, but you still let them know that they're loved.
Absolutely. And the key to that, which I can see with you, is the authenticity. And I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
You really do love them.
Mm-hmm.
And you really do believe in them. But yeah, there's points in life where, you know, you're going to have a failure and you've got to come out of it. You don't have the support system. But if you know there are people out there, I just think it's so important.
Right. And kids will know if you're authentic or not.
Sure.
Right? They read right through that. Yeah, you're gonna fail in life. Why not do it here, and let's learn how to rebound from it and help people. Let's understand failures. That's what life's all about.
Sure.
And then how we react to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right. And as you said earlier, which I love, is that you tried. If you tried and failed, that's a success. It's really not a failure. It's a success.
Absolutely. Taking those calculated risks is a big part of how you learn too. And yeah, you're right. It's 100% okay if you fail. Kid comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, Miss Monroe, I just got a 60 on my math test." Well, let's have a conversation about it. You know, why did you fail? Did you give your best effort? If you say no, then that's where our conversation's going to go. If you say yes, then there's some reflection on me. Hey, what can I do to help you more? Or what do you need from our classroom? That's the big things. When kids fail, we got to have a conversation with them. A kid messes up out at recess. I'm not saying there can't be consequences, but instead of having those consequences right away, have a conversation with them. Teach them. You know, that's our job, is to teach them. We can't expect kids coming into school to know everything.
So let's talk about it, because I love that. Let's talk about that, because you have to do both, right? The conversation. There has to be consequences, obviously, or especially if they continue to do things of that nature. But guiding them and helping them. When did you start realizing, you know, hey, that's going from having your door closed to realizing, now I need to open the door, I need to converse, and I need to do these things?
You know, right behind this door is an absolutely amazing and inspiring teacher. Her name's Sarah Rogers, and she has been a mentor to me in my career. Her and I have some amazing conversations about the importance of explaining things to kids, about teaching kids things that you and I probably take for granted. You know, we go to an atmosphere where it's supposed to be calm and quiet. We understand that. So when kids come in and we're doing, you know, small group reading and it's supposed to be this quiet and calm activity, I used to expect, hey, I asked you to whisper. Why aren't you whispering? Did I ever teach them to whisper before? Like what whispering sounds like? And so even things like that, you know, you hold two fingers up to your throat, and if you can feel vibrations, you're too loud. And so we practice going down to where you can't, like just making sure that things that we take for granted, that we explain it to kids so that they truly understand and that they know where we're coming from.
Isn't that interesting? Because I was thinking, there are probably times as adults that we think kids should just know it. They've never been explained it, and you're thinking, why don't you? Maybe we jump to conclusions, you know, so quickly. That's fascinating.
That's one that always comes to me, because that's a big one that I expected. You know, you're in 5th grade, you should know what a whisper sounds, and for the most part they do.
Yeah.
But like actually giving them something tangible to understand, this is what a whisper sounds like. Like I can tell if I'm at a whisper or not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, right, but that's a way of being able to, okay, even if they did, now you do, and we did it in a, you know, and you can, it allows you to move forward.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, attacking someone and saying, hey, you should have, and that never works.
Right, and as a teacher, taking time at the beginning of the year to go slow so later you can go fast in these areas has really changed the way my classroom works too.
Yep.
You know, I used to get to April, May, I'd be pulling my hair out and be like, oh my goodness, it's been a whole year. How do we not know how to do all of this? Well, at the beginning of the year, I was so focused on pacing guide says to do this, so I got to start here, and we're just going to keep trucking along, and understanding like I'm going to take more time here at the beginning of the year to make sure that our classroom is an environment that we want. And kids set up our guidelines in our classroom. They set up everything that we do. It's very student led, and it's really changed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about the challenges that teachers are having right now. I have several friends that are teachers that are going to leave, that it's just become too much. And I know teachers are looking for other careers, and we've got a major problem across this country. You know, finding good teachers is hard, and then they're just overwhelmed. Talk to me about that.
Yes, especially this year, I bet there are a lot of teachers that are overwhelmed. I just did a presentation for Sanford Harmony, and as we were doing it, there was a teacher that was writing, it was all virtually, but in the chat she was writing about how 2 of her friends quit this year. Like they weren't ready for retirement. They weren't to that point, but they quit. And it's hard because we're so passionate and we love what we do so much. But this year has been tough, and I don't think everybody understands the struggles that we go through. And I can't speak for everybody, obviously, because I know that there's still teachers that are fully remote. There's hybrid schedules. We have a concurrent plan, is what we call it. So I've got 20 kids right now. 17 are in person, 3 are remote, and I teach them all at the exact same time.
Oh wow.
And it's hard. It's hard to find the balance of working with 17 kids that are here, and then 3 screens that are black a lot of the time, or that aren't talking and communicating. And how do I help these kids still feel like they're part of this classroom family? How do I get them to still collaborate and communicate with their peers, so that when they go to middle school and they've been gone for a year and a quarter, they still have some of those relationships? It's tough. I think that one thing that we can do as a profession is always remember our whys. I'm going to show you quick. It's way over there, but you can see that bulletin board over there. That's my whys. It's pictures from kids. It's class pictures. It's drawings that kids have made me. It's gifts that kids have given. And I keep it there so that when I start every morning, I can look at it and be like, that's why I'm here. I think that that's a big thing that we can do as professions, is remember that why. And I think leaning on others, having good conversations with others about our problems, not dwelling in our problems, but acknowledging them, and then talking about ways that we can fight through it. I can't imagine, some of the struggles that fully remote teachers are going through, because they may never meet this year's kids.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard stuff going on this year, and I think it's important that people outside of education understand that, because back in March, teachers were worshipped. I mean, everybody loved us. And then the start of this year, it kind of became the opposite. Like, you're not even doing your job, or all this stuff. I don't think they realize, like, even the teachers that are fully virtual, like when I worked longer days then. I was working 12 hours every day to make sure that I understood how Zoom worked. I understand how I'm highly engaging the way that I speak with my kids, but making sure that the activities that I was having them do when they're not right here with me were still engaging. And you got to remember that teachers they're not competing with different things in the classroom to keep students' engagement. They're competing with things like TikTok, with Fortnite, with video games, with student class to go hang out with friends. Like, it's hard.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we got 2 teenagers here, and I know all about all of that, and it definitely is challenges. And it breaks my heart, because they are going in school, but they're wearing masks all the time. One's in band, one's in symphony orchestra, and they don't get to do the concerts. They're recorded. The interaction, the social, all of those things is put on them, and I know it's difficult. And then you've got to teach these kids, which they're already hard to teach, and then they've got all these other things that they're challenged with.
I think more than anything this year, this should be the year that we really slow down and let kids know how much they're loved. Like, for me, I go back to last quarter, remembering how much I hated my job last quarter, because I loved being with the kids.
Right.
I will never take that for granted anymore. I will never not walk in this classroom and think about, how am I going to make sure that all 20 of my kids know that they're loved when they leave. Like, that's a big thing that I walk in every day thinking about. Yeah, you're right. Even being in person brings a lot of challenges with the masks. Our students can't have recess with any of the other 5th grade classes. Like, we have to section off our playgrounds, and I get why we're doing that, but it's definitely hard for the kids. It's hard for us. Yeah, it's overall a hard year for parents included. I mean, parents are going through a lot too.
Yeah, it's a challenge just across the board. So let's talk some more about TikTok. I know that's a lot of people want to hear about all of this.
Wow.
Because it's very interesting. I've watched them, and I think it's very interesting. I think it's unique. A lot of people obviously have videos and this and that, but you found something that people are really responding to. Talk to me about how we talked a little bit about it, but how you started it, and how you've kind of changed your videos and your message, and where you've gone with it.
Yeah, I think we talked about, I started it for my kids, and now it's transformed into sharing things that I do in my classroom.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been really surreal.
Because I love the direct that you do. It feels like you're directly talking to the kid, kind of like you were talking about a minute ago, where you have a conversation with them, explain all of that, and it's definitely not talking down to them, but you can definitely tell you're the teacher, and I think you've done a really great job with the way you're getting your message across.
Yeah, most of my videos are point of view videos, so it is me speaking to the camera. In almost all of them, I'm thinking back and reflecting on things that I've actually experienced throughout my career. There's a couple that people ask me, how would you do this? So I make those, but yeah, it's very much me speaking to the camera, and yeah, I get good, bad feedback. I'm trying to figure out a couple things. Maybe you could help me with this. Anytime I do a video about accountability, I get a lot of grief from kids, especially, about how about how I'm passive aggressive or how this shouldn't happen, and I'm trying to think of ways to help students understand, because I don't know any of these people that comment.
Sure.
But I think that it's important that I try to get that message out of why. I only have 60 seconds, so I only have so much time to do something.
Wow.
But trying to get people to understand, the accountability part with grace. That's been a struggle in my TikTok career, is trying to, in 60 seconds, show you that I love you through the screen, but that I love you enough that I'm gonna hold you accountable to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's because it's probably a hard message for them to understand that life is going to hold you accountable. Whether you like it or not, there are things that are going to be. If you're overweight, sooner or later, physically, you're going to be held accountable to whether an adult does or anyone does. Whether if you don't at your job show up all the time, you're going to lose your job. I mean, these are lessons you're trying to teach now for future, because you will be held accountable by life, if nothing else.
Still.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So trying to get that message through my videos is something that's kind of like where my new direction's trying to go, is how do I teach these people that are following me, how do I teach them that even though I don't know you, love you, right, but you're going to be held accountable, and the importance of that. So
wow.
Yeah, TikTok's been crazy. It's been fun. It's been exciting. So it gives me opportunities to connect with people like you, with other teachers. I've loved it.
Yeah, it's funny because social media gets both sides, right? The love, but also the hate. And I think it's where you take it.
Wow.
You can't put something out there and not realize you're opening it up to the complete world. I'm actually fortunate because we did that a long time. I mean, when you have a show or whatever, people are going to comment. So this is kind of not new to me.
Wow.
But I remember even when we had when the internet first started, Barney got bashed like nobody's business. But if you believe in what you're doing, and as long as you're doing your best and you're helping people and you're honest,
that's kind of, now that you mentioned that, it comes to, like, that was a hard part at first. Like, my first video that went really big, it got a lot of praise. And so that first video was about a student that fell asleep in class, and the conversation went with his parents were fighting, so I gave him a place to sleep in class. And everybody was like, yo, I want this teacher, this guy's great, I bet he lets everybody sleep. And so I made another one, and the conversation was that the kids stayed up late playing Fortnite.
Wow.
And I said, I want you to take a lap around the building, we're going to come back, we're going to have a conversation. And then the conversation was, what are some things that we could change so that we don't have these feelings at school? And I guided the video towards going to bed earlier. And I got a lot of hate for it. And it was hard in that moment, because that was the first time, you've experienced it. That was the first time that I had people that I didn't know throwing. Oh,
not to mention fidget spinners. It's my nephew Jack and Drew does. Continue on.
And throwing this hate at me, and it was a hard pill to swallow. But I think overall, it's been really good for me. It's helped me as a person to accept constructive criticism from colleagues, from my administrators, understanding that that's how we grow, is having some of those conversations, not necessarily throwing hate at people, but understanding that that's a great way to grow is by listening to some of these.
Yeah, goodness gracious, 30 years ago I was being told I was hated. I'm like,
wow.
we were being told that all the time. And I can't even tell you how amazing it's been doing this show, that I've gotten emails and social media and stuff from people saying, I now get it. Like, I get it. I didn't get it, but I get it. And for whatever reason, they just immediately went right to the hate. And that's the best part. I don't even need you to apologize. I'm just glad you get it and you understand it, the importance of loving people and helping. We're all in this together. I don't know why we haven't figured that
Man.
we fight that, but we need each other.
Right. And, you know, kindness, love, empathy, they don't cost anything either. And I think that that was something great that Barney was giving kids was love, empathy, compassion, kindness at a very, very young age. My sisters grew up on it. They're two wonderful adults now. And yeah, your show did a lot of amazing things.
But thank you. But we did, we had teachers involved, and we did research. We did all these things, and I think that's something that people that we were being attacked before. It was like, well, do you understand? We didn't just throw a message out there. This was well researched and thought out.
Yeah, and that's something that happens on TikTok too. Is you get these hateful comments, but they don't understand everything that I'm required to do for my job, or the training that I've gone through. That I understand that you don't like this, but research shows that this is helpful.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
well, and that's the best message to show your kids that you have, when you open yourself up like this, you've gone through all this. And not only look how you've grown, but you took that risk. And
wow.
And it wasn't, it's not that simple to just say, okay, I got a video out there. Okay, now there's comment. Okay, now I got to do all these things. So really a great message you put out there.
Yeah, that has been some good conversations with my kids, because a lot of them want to be YouTubers or streamers. I get it, but you also got to understand that you're gonna have to be able to accept some criticism. Hopefully you take in the good constructive criticism. That's a unique thing about TikTok that I don't think other teachers that aren't part of it understand, is that it helps me connect with my kids more than just them watching my videos. This one kind of upsets me, but somebody created a hate account for my dog, and my dog's a therapy dog in our classroom, so she's here all the time. She's in a lot of my videos, and my kids saw it, and they got really upset about it, and it led to really good conversations. They're like, "What did you do? Did you message them? Did you say this? Did you do that?" And I was like, "No, I let it go. I pushed it to the side, and I understand why I'm making my videos, and if this person doesn't appreciate it, that's fine. I blocked them. I'm not gonna let that be part of my life."
Sure.
Exactly.
I let that stuff go. And helping them understand, some of those things that they want to do in life, like, I'm doing it right now, let me help you in certain ways.
Yeah, that's so beautiful and so important what you said, because I can't even tell you all the the Barney hate songs and this and this and that.
Yeah, disagree on what they said about the hate songs, but I love you, which I agree of, by the way, because number one, when Aubrey Scott's Productions did the Blind Side and Seek gameplay, and the Ray Allen Fox Blind Side and Seek gameplay, I just felt like, oh my god, this is terrifying. Continue on. And two, I feel like it's the worst videos I've ever seen for these videos. I might not react to them, but it may be a watch for me. Continue on.
People that bother me one bit. I'm all about people having opinions. I don't agree with it, but it's not going to stop my message. It's not going to stop the way I feel. It's not going to stop any of that. And you know what? I love them too. And of course, that probably drives you more nuts today, right? Because you need to put that out for whatever you need to put that out. But I love you. It doesn't change anything.
Right. The person that made this account, they commented on one of my videos, and I saw it, and I just wrote back, "I hope you have a great day," with a heart emoji. Well, that's when I blocked them, but
yeah, I agree.
I just put that out for you. Hey, I hope you have a great day. Don't want you part of my life, but
right. But you mean it too. It's not to be anything other than I love you. And that's let's talk real quick, because you started. Let's talk about your dog.
She's taking a nap over there. I wish I could get her over here. So she's a 6.5-year-old Westie, and she comes to school 3 to 4 times a week, which is pretty special. I got her when she was 8 weeks old, not expecting this to happen. I just trained her to be a good dog, I guess. And then I just asked people a lot of the times who are like, "How do you have a dog in your class? How's that fair? What'd you have to do?" And I was like, all I did was ask, "Hey, is it okay if I train my dog to be a therapy dog and bring her to school?" So we went through that, and this is her 4th year being at school. Man, she does amazing things, Carrie. Like, she's so cool. And I know I'm biased when I say that, but excuse me, in her 4 years, she's helped 4 kids get over their fear of dogs. And one of them was this year. And I didn't bring her for a while because this kid was scared. I had lots of conversations. I showed pictures of her. I showed videos of her. I showed my TikToks of her. And I said, "Hey, do you think that it would be okay one day if she did come? And if you don't like her when she's here, I'll call my wife. She'll come pick her up." So she came. She was okay with her being away from her. And eventually we got to the point later that day where she was petting her. And now she loves her. Now they're friends. And I had another student who came in, hid under a desk, which is not typical for this student. Nala walked over to her, and they just sat there while the girl hugged her for about 10 minutes. And that was a good sign to me. Like, Nala, I call her my co-teacher. Nala understood something was happening with this kid, went over by him, and that allowed me then to have some conversations. And we had a great day that day. Yeah, she does amazing things. She's a special dog.
Well, I love the creativity that you're doing with dogs. And you've got your food drawer. What other kind of things have you brought in to help your students?
Oh, you know, I'm gonna give a shout out to Sarah again, because the food drawer was her. She helped me understand the importance of that. But
we're all doing this together, so
right. And I think that that's an important thing too, is understanding that we're in it together. Going back to my first years, being in that silo and thinking that I have to do this on my own, and understanding the importance of asking for help. Nala's truly probably the biggest.
Yeah.
She brings in a lot of different elements. Like, she's great for social and emotional learning. Like, being able to talk to her. You don't have a partner, you don't want to read out loud, you can read with Nala, somebody who's not going to judge you. But she also brings in a lot of responsibility. Like, we've got at recess, somebody walks her. Somebody lets her, we've got a door that goes outside, somebody lets her out to go to the bathroom. Like, it helps bring in a lot more of that family atmosphere, I think, and it makes it a very homey classroom. And then I think just bringing in who I am as a person, like loving kids and being here for kids is another thing. And I do believe that all of my kids know how much I care for them and I love them, and I'm going to push you to work hard, but we're going to have fun, and I'm going to love you through it. I think that that's one of the best things that a teacher can do, is just instill in your kids every single day how much you care about them.
And I guess you've seen lots of results from the kids when it comes to they're doing better, they're moving on. Do you get to see your kids later down the line, some of them?
Yeah. My first class, they're seniors this year. And one of them just, there's Nala now, she's getting up. She heard a motorcycle. One of them just signed to play soccer. Another one's joining the Air Force. Like, I still have connections with a lot of them. One of my favorite, though, and this student was in my first year, the year that I really struggled. When he was bouncing around from foster home to foster home, I had a really good connection with him. I thought that he hated me, though. Like, I thought just he threw glue bottles at me. I thought he hated me. And when he was in 7th grade, he sent me an email. And there was one time when he destroyed our classroom that I walked in while he was doing it, and I said, "Let me help you pick it up. Like, you're gonna help me, but let me help you." And in his email, he wrote about that moment, and Yeah, see, I'm gonna start. It's just really special to have those relationships. You know, when you love what you do, and I know there's this saying, if you love what you do, you're never gonna work a day in your life. I do work.
Right.
Wow.
I work my bottom off every single day to make sure that my kids love them. But I do love what I do, and I love seeing the results from kids. You know, some of them are going to go to college and do great things. Some of them are going to go to trade schools. Some of them, that's just not for them, but they're still going to do great things. And hopefully in our class, they learned the importance of having feelings and regulating them in healthy ways, handling them in healthy ways. They learned that they're loved. And that's something that they can reflect on when they're older. I taught 4th grade for 5 years. I loved 4th grade, or I loved 5th grade. Miss Monroe, you know, really cared about me. I don't remember what he taught me, but man, do I remember that guy loved me. So.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being on, Josh.
Well, thank you again for having me. This was a lot of fun. Special for me being able to watch Barney as a kid. I loved it, and now sitting down and talking with you about loving kids is really something special.
Well, you've inspired me, and I love what you're doing. I know the challenges, I see them, and I have such a love for teachers and what they're doing, and I love the creativity. I love the creativity that you have come through obstacles and you just found a way, not only to take care of them, but to flourish with them. And hearing you tell these stories about the kids, you know, now being seniors, it's pretty special.
Yeah, now graduating from high school or college, whatever, class of 2021 for them. Continue on.
It is, and you know, you asked about like the growth. I've seen the results in their test scores too, and it's not because I'm doing any different curriculum with them. It's just because they're invested because they know that they're loved and cared for. I think that's got to be an important message that teachers send out to everybody. We love you. And I like how you started it on your show. It's not weird to say it. We got to get rid of that stigma that it's weird when we say I love you to somebody. You know, I just want you to know that you're cared for.
Yeah.
It's the greatest gift that I have, that all the people in my life don't have to wonder if anything ever happens to me or when it happens to me, how I feel. Or of my family. I don't have to, if anything ever happens to anyone of my family, I don't have to question whether they love me. There's no doubt. And I think it's just, you know, love has obviously changed my world, and I love what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Purple Roads, and remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. We'll see you next week.
All right, ready?
So that was Purple Roads, episode number 64 of Purple Roads. Josh Monroe and Nala, teacher and therapy dog. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far this episode went to be a success. Anyways, guys, that was episode of LJPCBM, episode number 617. Now, man, excuse me, I'm gonna get some sleep and shut for the night. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get some rest before I finish the episode. Until next time, so just goodbye, peace out, baby. Get more episodes, we guys very soon. Till then, Jefferson out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening. But I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.